Protocol. It is the 1 or 2 byte field that defines what is to be carried in the data field. The data can be a user data or other information. Payload. The payload field carries either user data or other information. The maximum length of the payload field is 1500 bytes. Checksum. It is a 16-bit field which is generally used for error detection. Transition phase of PPP protocol. Dead. Dead is a transition phase, which means that the link is not used or there is no active carrier at the physical layer. Established. If one of the nodes starts working, then the phase goes to the established phase. In short, we can say that when the node starts communication or carrier is detected, then it moves from the dead to the established phase. Authenticate. It is an optional phase, which means that the communication can also move to the authenticate phase. The phase moves from the established to the authenticate phase only when both the communicating nodes agree to make the communication authenticated. Network. Once the authentication is successful, the network is established or phase in the network. In this phase, the negotiation of the network layer protocol takes place. Open. After the establishment of the network phase, it moves to the open phase. Here, open the phase means that the exchange of data takes place, or we can say that it reaches to the open phase after the configuration of the network layer. Terminate. When all the work is done, then the connection gets terminated and it moves to the termination phase. On reaching the termination phase, the link moves to the dead phase, which indicates that the carrier is dropped which was earlier created. There are two more possibilities that can exist in the transition phase. The links moves from the authenticate to the terminate phase when the authentication is failed. The link can also move from the established to the dead state when the carrier is failed. PPP stack. In PPP stack, there are three set of protocols: link control protocol, network control protocol, authentication protocol. Link control protocol. The role of link control protocol is to establish, maintain, configure and terminate the links. It also provides a negotiation mechanism. Authentication protocols. There are two types of authentication protocols. PAP. PAP means password authenticate protocols, and CHAP, challenged handshake authentication protocols. PAP, password authentication protocols. PAP is less secure as compared to CHAP. As in case of PAP protocol, password is sent in the form of a clear text. It is a two-step process. Suppose there are two routers, for example, router 1 and router 2. In the first step, the router 1 wants to authenticate, so it sends the username and password for the authentication. In the second step, if the username and password are matched, then the router 2 will authenticate the router 1, otherwise the authentication failed. CHAP, Challenged Handshake Authentication Protocol. CHAP is a three-step process. Step 1. Suppose there are two routers, for example, router 1 and router 2. In this step, router 1 sends the username but not the password to the router 2. In step 2, the router 2 maintains a database that contains a list of allowed hosts with their login credentials. If no data is found, which means that the router 1 is not a valid host to connect with it and the connection gets terminated. If the match is found, then the random key is passed. The random key along with the password is passed in the MD5 hashing function, and the hashing function generates the hashed value from the password and the random key. The hashed value is also known as challenge. The challenge along with the random key will be sent to the router 1. Step 3. The router 1 receives the hashed value and a random key from the router 2. Then the router 1 will pass the random key and locally stored password to the MD5 hashing function. The MD5 hashing function generates the hashed value from the combination of random key and password. If the generated hashed value does not match with the received hash value, then the connection gets terminated. If it is matched, then the connection is granted. Based on the above authentication result, the authentication signals that could be either accepted or rejected is sent to the router 2. Network Control Protocol. After the establishment of the link and authentication, the next step is to connect to the network layer. So, PPP uses another protocol known as Network Control Protocol. The Network Control Protocol is a set of protocol that facilitates the encapsulation of data which is coming from the network layer to the PPP frames. Thank you.